Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video here at tablemon. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to be playing a game with the Dudunsparce Roaring Moon. This is Javier Gamboa's 10th place list from Sao Paulo Regionals, which I believe is one, maybe two cards different from the list that got top 8 at Orlando. I forgot the name of the person, pardon me. But this is pretty much now the standardized Dudunsparce Roaring Moon deck. It's a pretty powerful deck. You can lead with Roaring Moon, apply pressure, set up 2-hit KOs, and then when the time is right, you go in with the Roaring Moon EX, take those guaranteed knockouts with Frenzied Gouging or Calamity Storm, whatever it is, on the multiple price Pokemon, and you're able to very nicely set up a stream of Roaring Moons and having that Roaring Moon emergency button, if you will, which is pretty nice to have. The deck plays very similar to what used to be the Roaring Moon from the previous format. The Dunsparce is also such a great asset to have. Rather, this deck feels a big improvement over the previous Roaring Moon deck, just because you have the Dunsparce as an engine to help you draw cards, and you can leave those evolved on your bench so that after you get Ionote or Roxanne, you can still find resources and draw cards, which is fantastic. And the Baby Roaring Moon is of course so much better than Morpeko as an attacker. So this deck is very powerful. The engine with the Ancient Supporters is also very good, with the 4 Explorer's Guidance and the 4 Professor Sada's Vitalities, and you do have enough ancient cards to where the basic Roaring Moon can get to a 1-hit KO of basic EXs or V Pokemon in the late game, which is very nice. You're never going to be able to 1-KO a Pidgeot or a Charizard, but you can get to those smaller numbers, which is very key. The 200 to 240, 250 range, which is very key in the current format. So let's jump into the game and let's see how it goes.
If you want to support the channel, you can use code tablemon to get 5% off at Potent Store for your online codes, 10% off for your sealed product at Flipside Gaming, and 10% off on your aluminum accessories at TC Evolutions. Or if you're looking to buy singles or sleeves, you can fill up your cart and close the tab, then click on the affiliate link in the description and check out. That way you can support the channel over at TCG Player, Card Market, and Dragon Shield. ¿Eres de México y necesitas cartas de Pokémon? Busca Hyperbeam Cards en Facebook e Instagram. Y si estás en Tijuana, búscalos en el local C27 en el Centro Comercial Otay.
Alright, here we go. Let's see how we can do with this Dudunsparce Roaring Moon deck. We are going second with not the best hand to be able to get an attack off on turn 1, because we don't have Professor Sada. However, I have no idea what we're up against. However, I can find energy switches, Dark Patches perhaps, but probably not going to be able to power up the active Roaring Moon on my first turn. So we'll have to see how we piece this out. We're going to get 2 extra cards from the mulligan. Very nice. And we're up against Raging Bolt. Raging Bolt is probably one of my favorite cards from the new set, but unfortunately it doesn't seem the most competitive. But we're gonna see an ancient deck against an ancient deck, which is always cool to see. They lead off with sort of advantage thanks to the fact that they already have the Greninja in play. They have the energy to a Raging Bolt. There's Sandy Shock, so very nice. And okay, Roaring Moon top deck, so don't think the Penny is going to be too useful here. I think that's the card I want to get rid of with the Earthen Vessel. This will allow me to check my deck, see how many energies I prize, see the lines that I have. Didn't prize any Pokemon or energy, so did prize a Professor and an Explorers, which is honestly not too bad. If you have supporters in your starting hand and then you prize supporters, it's never bad to be able to have a good chance at finding supporter from your prizes. 2 Earthen Vessel as well, 1 Ultra Ball I believe. So nothing too major, I would say. The Ancient Booster Energy Capsule is actually pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and Trekking Shoes, because this could get me the Professor Sada, potentially. Well, I'm going to get rid of it. Alright, well there's a Dunsparce. So I'm gonna go ahead and Artazon here, just get a Dunsparce set up. Probably should have used Explorer's Guidance first. In case I found more Dudunsparce in there. Don't think I'll be needing Counter Catcher overall in this particular matchup because it's gonna be all about Raging Bolt. Now let's go ahead and bench you. They could establish another either Roaring Moon or another Dunsparce. I kind of like the Dunsparce, that also guarantees. I could also go for Greninja. There's definitely merit to Greninja. That might be better, yeah. Because it's not searchable by Artazon later down the line, and getting energy down is never a bad thing. To find the other Nest Ball, which I'm gonna keep available for now. So here's what I'm thinking. Attaching to the active makes little sense. Though I do like this. I'm gonna give up on the attachment. I do have Dark Patches for later. So I'm giving up on the attachment because if I attach to the active and my opponent is able to knock me out, then that's not ideal and I lost my energy, and then off of Sada and the Dunsparce, I'm gonna need to find an energy or a vessel, which I have plenty of in the deck, plenty of energies, only one vessel, but why risk it? Yeah, so I'm putting myself one turn behind in that sense in order to maximize my, or guarantee my attack potential, and then I make my opponent work the most to knock out the active Roaring Moon with the tool, right? Will require all energies to be gone, but at very little benefit, or at not losing the energy. So definitely did some sequencing there that maybe I should have held off on the Artazon and or the Nest Ball until after I used Explorer's Guidance to be able to look at the card, see what I find. However, like that applies very nicely to Colress. Explorer's Guidance, you look at 6 and you only get to keep 2. So even if you see a bunch of basics, you might also see supporters like Professor Sada's or other resources that you might also need. So it's not as straightforward in that regard. Now my opponent is able to find the Prime Catcher. If they have another ancient Pokemon, they will be able to take down my Greninja, which sucks. Yeah, it's definitely not ideal, but it's not the end of the world either. However, since I didn't attach energy now, this is the punish. All right, yep, this is the punish. I will not be able to attack this turn either. Well, no, actually, I can attack. Okay, so now it's all about thinning and finding one of the Dark Patches, right? One of the 4 Dark Patches off of the next few cards. Wait, how many energies do I have? I have 2, all right. So I'm gonna go ahead and Professor Sada. It's not gonna be perfect. I might lose a turn as well, but that's okay. Didn't find it anyways. We're gonna go ahead and concealed cards. All right, but we find Prime Catcher. That's pretty good. So how much damage are we doing right now? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm doing 110. There's no way for me to get another or more cards, more ancient cards in discard pile, unless I draw something useful here. All right, that's actually it. Perfect. So I will be able to take down my opponent's Radiant Greninja, which is actually a pretty big deal at this point in time. Also thinning a bunch of energies, which is great news. I also found a Dark Patch, which is pretty fantastic. My Greninja will also be safe. So overall, we're in a pretty good spot now. So if my math is correct, should be able to take down this Radiant Greninja, which also limits the availability of energy in their discard pile, which then limits their possibilities to power up and get attacks going. Vengeance Fletching for just enough damage thanks to that Dudunsparce putting in the work. Solid start for us, and heading into the next stages of the game. The 240 HP is problematic on the Raging Bolt because I don't play enough ancient cards realistically to get a Vengeance Fletching for that amount, or not reliably enough. Especially now that it's at 300, it's going to be a 2-hit KO, but it's much more difficult for them to continually produce attackers than it is for me, so that's good news. They just go for an Iono. Iono means no Professor Sada, which is potentially good news. I did put a lot of useful supporters back into my deck, so that's gonna be less than ideal at this instance, but we will manage. All right. So, does my opponent get rid of all 3 energies? Or, yeah, that works too. Lost Vacuum away my tool, and therefore they only need 2 energies, which is pretty good for them. And the tool also doesn't go to discard pile, therefore it doesn't add to my Vengeance Fletching. Alright. So now the base damage that I'm doing is 140, which should set up a decent 2-hit KO as well. Now, since my opponent got rid of the energy on the Koraidon, it's actually quite tempting, if I were able to piece it out, to use Roaring Moon's Frenzied Gouging. Because getting an attack off for my opponent next turn might not necessarily be easy. Alright, I'm gonna keep the Roaring Moon for now. I'm glad I played the Dark Patch previously before I got Ionode. So we're gonna go Runaway Draw. Alright, the Nest Ball allows me to shuffle the deck, which is pretty good news, because a lot of my supporters went to the bottom of the deck. And we're gonna be able to use Trekking Shoes now. Let's discard that, sure. I have the 2 others in my hand. I get an energy, which is pretty nice. Let's go ahead and conceal cards that away. Alright, more energy and not much else, however. So I'm gonna definitely attach this to make it hard for my opponent to KO me. I'm keeping the energy once again, which is not ideal, but I think it's important to have that potential draw because I'm struggling a little bit, right? Now the huge HP of my opponent definitely makes this problematic overall. But it's also very, it's not very cost effective for them to continually KO these 200 HP basic Pokemon, right? So we're gonna see the Ultra Ball, see what they find. Maybe a Mew EX. No, they actually have Luminion, okay. So that's gonna allow them to find the Professor Sada, get energy into play, which is pretty good. Both energies attached. Yep, perfect. We'll be able to advance the game state, but not super threatened just yet, because in this instance, as long as I'm able to attack, right, which I don't have it guaranteed just yet. As long as I'm able to attack, I should be able to, I'll be ahead in that regard. Now, I will have taken 2 prizes, my opponent will have taken 2 so far, so I will be ahead. Whatever price they take in return is perfectly fine. Now, thanks to their stadium, I do have free retreat, which is pretty fantastic news. So I think I'm going to promote the Greninja, as it does have free retreat. They remove energy from the active and the Raging Bolt, so they're planning on following this up with a Koraidon, which it's perfect actually for me, assuming they can't KO me. That would be pretty ideal. However, I don't have an attack guaranteed right now. I think I'm gonna get rid of these 2 and find myself a Dudunsparce. So I'm doing this instead of drawing with Greninja, because if I draw with Greninja, then I need to find another energy to be able to attack, right? So I think I want to draw first with the Dunsparce, see what I get, and then I'll commit the energy attachment and whatever else I need. All right, 2 Professor Sadas, I actually get 3 supporters off of that, which is pretty darn good. Now, I kind of do want to recover the Roaring Moons, but I think I want to draw... You know what? I'm going to put back the Roaring Moons. I'm going to put back 2 of you and 1 of you. Seems pretty good. I wouldn't mind drawing now with this hand. Any of those pieces would be pretty good. And now we are good to go on attacking, knocking out. Overall, pretty fantastic. Now, I'm gonna evolve into the Dunsparce as not bait, but like if my opponent goes after that, that's all right by me. I'm gonna go ahead and attach the tool once again, and we're gonna go Vengeance Fletching for 160. We also still have Boss's Orders to take down potentially the Luminion in case we can't bypass the huge HP. Two very good cards to get off the prices, so I'm feeling pretty confident at this point in time. The opponent does promote the Raging Bolt to be able to get the KO, which is understandable. And this is a point where once I go down to 3, I will be more freely able to use the Roaring Moon EX as a way to take down this Raging Bolt, but we'll see. We'll see how this plays out for sure. Having 2 Pokemon powered up is my ideal situation at this point in time. And since the Professor Sada has already been played and needs to be played pretty much every turn for the deck, I know my hand is sticking, so I'm hoping I'll be able to create some sort of picture perfect checkmate scenario almost, where with enough the Dunsparces, the energies that I have left and whatnot, I'll be able to just make sure that I can find the boss to chase down either the Koraidon or the Luminion to win the game, or potentially just power up back-to-back Roaring Moon EXs. That's also another possibility in case I need to go through 2 more Raging Bolts, which doesn't seem to be the case just yet, but it could be, certainly could be. And there's also a possibility that the Vengeance Fletching could get to enough damage to knock out Sandy Shocks if that's going to be my opponent's next attacker after his Raging Bolt. One did hit the Lost Zone for my opponent, and there's another, oh no, there was another in the discard pile, it just got put back. There's the other Raging Bolt. Don't know if they play 3 or 4, but I have a good feeling about this current situation. I genuinely do. So there's a 210 damage, discarding very well from the 2 Sandy Shocks and from the active Raging Bolt, which is perfectly fine. I think I would have liked to see 1 energy kept here and then 1 energy discarded off the Koraidon a little bit more, but all right. So we're waiting for my opponent to take their prize card. There we go. I have free retreat with the Greninja, so we can definitely promote that. All right, so get Artazon. I just need to make sure I don't play that before I retreat. So let me go ahead and retreat into the Dudunsparce for now. So I will play this now, and this will allow me to thin the deck, which is pretty good. Kind of like the other Dunsparce a little bit more. Wait, I don't have boss anymore? I discarded the boss? I guess I did. Alright, so never mind. I'm gonna have to go through 2 of these. Therefore, let's get the Roaring Moon, sorry. Not the Raging Moon, the Roaring Moon. Alright. So then I think we lead with a Sada at this point in time. Attach 2 of these energies. I just need to make sure I already retreated. Alright, so don't forget, Pablo. Do not forget that you already retreated. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and concealed cards here. There's the Roaring Moon. Okay. I can't power up this guy anymore unless I draw another Dark Patch, which I cannot risk at this point in time. Wait, so I'm not gonna get the KO then? I need to get the KO. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 cards. That's 190. I'm 10 damage off. All right, well, I need to find now. Dang, okay. So I need to find the other Dark Patch, guaranteed off of this. The Dunsparce. All right, perfect. Okay, so we were still able to pull this off. All right, so there goes Dark Patch number 1. I also needed to draw the other Dudunsparce, so a little convoluted based on the cards I had in my hand, but we were able to get there. So there's the other Dudunsparce. Let's go ahead and run away draw. We will draw 3. We put 2 back, which is pretty fantastic. Now we can finally promote you. Definitely bench you. And at this point in time, I'm gonna go ahead and Earthen Vessel away this friend. There's no more ancient cards available to me to be discarded. So we're gonna go Frenzied Gouging. No more Boss's Orders. No Prime Catcher. So getting the last KO, like getting to 240 damage on a Raging Bolt, might not be exactly easy. Again, play either Explorer's Guidance or Professor Sada's. If I'm able to Super Rod find the Roaring Moon, another Roaring Moon EX though, that would be enough. So that's gonna be the main thing here. We'll see. If I Super Rod back, I mean, I might have it guaranteed. I'm not exactly sure. We'll see. Let me do the maths as well. So Pokemon, there's 1, 2, 3, 7, 10, 13, 16. 16 ancient cards. That's plus 7. That's 230 with the active Roaring Moon going down. That's 240. So actually I will be able to knock out either Sandy Shocks or a Raging Bolt, as long as they don't have the tool. If they do have the tool, then I'm gonna need to go Sada into the last Dark Patch, into Attach Return, onto another Roaring Moon EX. So we'll see. Yeah. There's the Raging Bolt. But this is only if they have the tool card in order to increase the HP to 300 damage. Otherwise, we are fine. Now, this game definitely took a long time. Way longer than I expected it to take. 20 minutes of game time so far. All right. Alrighty. Gutsy Pickaxe, not a big deal. Earthen Vessel. Fire Energy, so they are playing Fire Energy to shred, or potentially a Radiant EX as well. But I'm feeling pretty confident at this point in time. Feeling quite confident. We haven't seen the tool, right, to be attached by them. How many do we think they play? There's only one in the discard pile, so they generally could have another one. I hope they find it, and that way we have to piece out a more complicated turn that way. I actually hope they do find it. They might not even be able to attack this turn though. I don't know what they're doing. I think they're burning the clock at this point. They might be. I don't know what they're waiting for or doing. We're gonna send a passive aggressive angry face. Now, there's the attachment for turn. So I think they're burning the clock. I think that's exactly what they're doing, so. Someone the other day, it was funny, someone the other day called me out for stalling, which made no sense. I had already lost the game, I was explaining what was happening, and I wasn't taking any actions. I could have taken more actions to slow down and like eat up more time, but I wasn't doing that. I was just explaining. My turn ended with the timer, and I lost to my opponent, so. Very silly thing to say, but I mean, I don't know what my opponent was doing, honestly. They took so long, and they know if they take this knockout, they lose, I'm guessing. So we might see an immediate concession. Okay, no. All right, cool. Cool. Maybe they were just, maybe their client was slow or whatever it was, but solid win. Yeah, solid, well fought for win. That last turn probably was a little too convoluted. Maybe benching a Roaring Moon EX a little earlier could have been a good idea, but overall the price trade worked out really, really well, and we were able to walk away with the win. And this is what you want to accomplish with Roaring Moon deck. With the Dudunsparce Roaring Moon deck, you want to use the baby Roaring Moons as much as you can, do 2-hit KOs, and then eventually, boom, make that price trade go in your favor, which is exactly what ended up happening. Raging Bolt EX, not the most meta deck to showcase the deck at, but still a pretty good, it's still a 2-pricer that's taking knockouts. Could have been Charizard, could have been Raging Bolt, right? In the end, it's a Pokemon worth 2 prices, taking 1 prize at a time, and then eventually you turn the tables against them. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you liked the thumbnail as well. And I'll see you. This was a very requested video, so that's why I did it. Let me know if there's any other decks that I haven't covered yet that you would like to see. Thank you so much, and until next time. Bye-bye.